Alrighty, welcome back to the weight room. Thanks for tuning in today. We're going to have the Fit Cop Mom on the podcast talking a little bit about health and fitness, talking about kind of holistic living, talking about some other maybe what you would consider controversial topics. It's going to be a good episode, so tune in, and I hope you enjoy it, but mostly I just hope you get something from it. I think this one's a lot of just kind of getting something from it. So let's dive on in. Thanks for coming on tonight.
Welcome.
Let's jump right into things.
I'm Ellie Perico. I'm a mom, single mom of 2 kids, and I was born in Argentina, but I moved here when I was 8. And have been in California ever since. I was a teacher for most of my life, elementary and high school, and then I went into the sheriff's department, became a deputy, and I'm still in the sheriff's department, just not on a full-time basis anymore. Still only do it part-time because after I had my son, I just decided to focus more on mom life. But then once I got divorced, I kind of hit it harder. So now I'm working a lot more shifts doing that at a part-time level. And what's known as reserve level in California, it's different in every state. But so reserves in California typically work for free. But because I was full-time and sworn and patrol trained, I have to do my certain free hours a month, and then I pick up paid shifts. So that's one of my jobs. I'm also a nutrition coach online. And I also recently started working for a food company that I really loved and enjoyed. They put out a job offer. So now I'm in marketing as well. So
Awesome. It sounds like
deputy, coach, and mom.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of stuff going on and a lot of different
Yeah.
experiences to kind of pull from. I think whenever we do different things, it helps us in everything else we do. You know, it's all kind of tied together. But getting into kind of moving over here, I think it's kind of so interesting getting to talk to somebody that's not originally from America. You know, it's such like I think when you're here,
Yeah.
you don't think of anywhere else. You know, it's like, oh, this is the world. This is like there. Everywhere else is kind of just like in a movie or on a map or something.
Yeah.
How did moving here really, what was that like for you?
To be 100% honest, I hated it because I moved when I was 8, like a little bit older than, I knew what was going on. And I moved from Argentina, which is a South American country, but the influence in California is Mexican. So my Spanish was very, very, very different than the Spanish spoken here. And so I didn't speak the right Spanish and I didn't speak English at all. So I kind of had no way to communicate. I mean, I communicated, but they would make fun of my Spanish. So as a kid, when you're made fun of, you just like, so I hated it. But I mean, eventually, obviously now I grew to just, I'm sure, I don't even remember. I don't remember. People ask me, how did you learn Spanish or how long did it take you? I don't remember any of it. I wish I did, but I don't remember any of it. I don't know how long it took me, but I know that eventually I liked it. And now I would never, I'd like to go to Argentina and see it. It's a great country, but I would never go back there to live.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say you really don't remember like making that language transition. Is that something that like is it in your head? Do you It's funny you say that because like in my own experience, one of my high school teachers, they they were from somewhere South America or Central America or something, and they could speak both. But she said she thinks in one language in one language and talks in
Yeah.
another. So it's like this kind of multi-dimensional
Yeah.
like thought process. Does that ever happen to you?
Different. Yeah. Well, I used to teach, I was a high school Spanish teacher. So I had to like switch focus all day long. I'd speak Spanish. And then like at my mom's house, we just automatically speak Spanish. I would never walk into my mom's house and speak English to my mom or my dad. It would be weird. But the minute I leave, English, like I think in English, I speak in English. But then again, when I spell words out, like words like business or Wednesday, in my head, I'm like busyness, Wednesday, like to spell it out. So it's really, I wish I remembered more of it, but I don't remember any of elementary school, even part of middle school. I don't know why. I think it maybe because I was not a happy camper and I just kind of said, forget it.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I've heard that about Spanish. Is it like whenever you like go to a different region and they just say different words, like even like in an English language, or is it like even completely different than that?
It's a little different. So the dialect is different. Like South America and Central America are very different. You could understand each other just like you could understand somebody from like Canada, but their words, I mean, like even California and New York, there's a different dialect, but it's pretty much the same. But like California and Canada, for example, or California and England, like the dialect is very different and a lot of words are different.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, if you
And then
think
a
about
lot
it.
of people assume, like some people know that I am, like knew that I didn't speak Spanish, and some people couldn't tell at all. Like, oh, you're a liar. You speak English, you speak both, because some people can't tell that I'm not. They have this like certain pre-programmed idea of what somebody that speaks Spanish should look like.
So how did you get into teaching? Was that something that you kind of like were, I want to help people going through something, or like what was that about?
And teaching, well, like my parents are Hispanic, so like teaching is just like a girl job. Like Latin American parents like guide you in a certain direction. So, and then I always worked like in a daycare and stuff, like as my high school job, like after school daycare programs. So I kind of was just like, it's the easy thing to do. Like I'd always wanted to do law enforcement, but it was like, you're a girl, it's not a good job. Just so I pursued teaching and I did it. I taught elementary school for a couple of years and then I loved it. I still keep in contact with a lot of my kids on Instagram. Elementary school, they're all married with kids. And then I was getting like the 4 or 5 split grade and I was like, this is too much. Like I'm teaching 2 grades, 2 English. So then I decided to pursue high school because I thought maybe I'll enjoy that more because I'm teaching my language and the kids are older. And then I went on to teach high school, and then I was like the Spanish club advisor and the junior club advisor, and like I just took on all this stuff. So I loved the job. In the summers, I taught English, which I never really got a break. I loved the job. I still love the job. I love the kids, but teaching, like the politics in it, I didn't enjoy. So finally, when I turned 30, I was like, I'm going to pursue the sheriff's department or law enforcement in general, and just do what I want to do.
And what kind of gave you that bump to make that transition to law enforcement?
I just turned 30 and I was like, it's now or never. I can't wait forever. I had a change where I thought I have to do it, whether people push me. Like at the time I was married and my husband at the time didn't want me to do it, but I just had to do it for myself. If I didn't do it, I would have resented him. And if I did do it, it would cause the problems, which either way I lose. So
Right.
I did it and it was a great decision.
And do you feel like your teaching experience helped you out,
Oh, for sure. Like I
shape
dealt
the
with,
way you can communicate?
yeah, I had to deal with people all day, every day, all the kids, the parents, the staff, kids from all different backgrounds. So I think absolutely, yeah.
Was there any was there any trouble just being a woman and trying to, maneuver your way throughout that kind of field, or whatever you want to call it, that kind of career path?
I don't think so. I think maybe for some women it is if they get in too young. Like I had no problems in the academy. I thought it was a lot of fun, a lot of drama, like any setting where you put in men and women together that don't know each other and see each other every day, all day. But I think for a lot of women, when they get in young and they're single and they get all this attention from men because, it's primarily men, it can definitely be intimidating to some people. It can change you and it can encourage you to maybe like start dating everybody on the department. But I went in married, first of all. And even if I wasn't, now that I'm not, I haven't been married for 5 years. I've still never, I have a rule not to like get involved in any of that stuff. And then
Yeah.
also just like there will always be the people in and out of the department that think women can't do the job the same. So you deal with that. And I'm at the same time, I understand that I cannot do the same things a man does. I can think I can, but physically I can't. But that's where you're trained to use different avenues and you do the best you can with your physical ability.
Yeah, it's interesting whenever you take that thought into consideration, because like you said, like just potential wise, the full potential of a, certain male is
Yeah.
most likely going to be, a bigger, stronger person. But definitely there's roles for different people to fill. And I was actually listening to a podcast by a firefighter, and he was talking about that same thing. He was saying, there might be a 250 plus pound firefighter that is just a beast, but that person can't, climb through these small holes that we
Yeah,
need them to. They
exactly.
can't do these certain things. They can't do, it's just so interesting when you take into consideration that the different roles that there actually are to fulfill within these different
Yeah, you do the best
careers.
with what you have. I think that for women and for me at least, I don't know about all women, I use my verbal skills as much, like I think, women tend to, for the most part, be more calm when confronted. And sometimes men like, and this might be generalizing, but when they get told off, like they lose it all, and escalate it right away. Whereas some women tend to, I think, because we've dealt with maybe kids and all that stuff at home, we tend to be more even keel, and you
Yeah.
also have to just use your verbal skills more because like me against a 6 foot, 200-pound guy is not going to fare the same as my partner who's 6 foot against two. That's an even match, me. But at the same time, we also have force training where you have different tools on your belt where I might be justified to use something in a situation that he might not be because his size is more. All that stuff is you learn it in the academy, but I get those questions all the time on social media too as a woman, going into law enforcement, your concerns. It's definitely a job you have to know you want to do.
Yeah. It definitely takes a certain level of commitment, a certain type of person to put yourself in that situation on a daily basis. And I was listening to this other podcast actually, and he was a former Marine, and he was, I think, a Marine, and he was talking about just the difference between like military and first responders, and how,
Oh yeah, huge
military
difference.
gets all this credit, which is certainly deserved, but
Yeah,
he flipped it around and was talking about how, firefighters and police officers and all these things, they're on active duty every single day, really.
yeah,
They're at home, they're living, they kind of don't get that disconnect from family and friends, and
yeah.
it's just kind of crazy. And I never thought about it that way, how you really are always on.
Oh yeah, and when you're at work, like right now, when I did it full time, it was very different. Now that I do it on a part time basis, I choose when I go, so it's good because I look forward to it. I'm not doing it 60, 70 hours a week, but yeah, when you're at work, you need to be all. That's a job that you can't be distracted with what's going on at home, and unfortunately, that's just human nature. When you have stuff going on at home, it's going to take away from work, and that can cost you your life.
It's something that's so, now, especially nowadays, I think underappreciated by so many people, just the level of responsibility that you have, because I think it's seen as like a such a negative thing now to kind of
Yeah, the media does a
support.
good job of that. I think that the hard part is the media's ability to just show a video and then the people at home take minutes, hours to judge what to do in that video. But you have to think about the cop on the other side of that. He had milliseconds to judge what to do. So maybe you would have done the same thing he did had you not had the time to see what that person's going to do afterwards or what he had because you found out later what he did or didn't have. But I think if more people did ride alongs now that COVID's over, or more departments had citizens academies where they kind of run you through a mini academy, there would be a much better understanding. But my own family sometimes doesn't get situations. And I won't ever judge a situation I see on social media until I know more about it because it might look really bad with the creative editing, but they're not showing you what happened before, what happened afterwards, what information was sent to that officer before he went on the call, who that person was. Maybe they've already, encountered him before. So people like to judge from outside of, their little bubble, and they say, well, you got into the job, you should, be prepared to die. But that's not why people become cops. They do it to prepare, protect other people, but they don't. It shouldn't be that it's on you to die, because a lot of people in scenarios will think, well, that cop shouldn't have shot him. He should have just fought him off and let him, you know. If they do, and then that person does take that cop's life, then everybody else in the area is also in danger of losing theirs. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's a hard thing for people to understand. Like that's why I love doing podcasts like this, because maybe people will listen to it.
The way I kind of think about it too is like, we all, or not we all, but a lot of people will sit back the same way on, Monday morning, and pick apart, a quarterback's decision or a coach's
Yeah, the
decision.
whole Monday morning quarterbacking. Yeah,
Yeah. It's kind of became the same way with law enforcement. It's like you said,
yeah,
you have hours to think about it, days to think about it.
yeah,
And these people have, like you said, milliseconds. And
yeah,
I think it's so sad because, like, a lot of times it's not the person, it's not necessarily, bad people. It's different circumstances, of course, but I think
yeah.
it's training, it's experience, it's,
Yeah,
social
all of
pressure.
that
All
goes into
these
it. Yeah.
things are just I think not going in the favor of the person making that decision a lot of times.
Oh yeah, and every cop is different. There's some that are going to have better training, more training, different life experience, but it's like that in every job. Every teacher, every attorney, every plumber, they're all going to come into the job with different experience. You can't expect them all to react the same, but the media pushes the whole, they love to with their head they're really creative with their headlines, and it encourages people to think one way versus the other. And cops are guilty of the same. They Monday morning quarterback each other all day long. Like, I can't believe you did that. Well, we're guilty of the same to each other sometimes. On videos on social media, but primarily it's the media feeding the anti-police rhetoric.
Do you feel like it's almost become more of a not really people, it's just kind of a lot more media hype than it is people behind the hype? I feel like a lot of times you don't see a lot of this stuff in real life. A lot of times, it's certainly
I
there, but I feel like maybe it's pumped up a little bit.
It's hard to say because of where I work. I live in a very pro law enforcement community, and I work in a pro law enforcement community. And if I ever do work other stations, it's other stations in my department that are also pretty pro law enforcement. And I've honestly talked to a lot of people that say, yeah, I mean, like, when you see like true studies, most people support the police. I think the media makes it seem like a lot more don't. I think the ones that don't are a lot more vocal and outspoken and all that. But yeah, I don't think it's I think the media is doing a good job of pushing it, and that we have politicians that are doing a good job of not encouraging police support. They don't say don't, but they don't say do,
Right.
for whatever reason.
Yeah, it definitely it's become vilified and
Yeah.
everything to support. But I think people people are, I think, still supporting, and in a lot of cases even like becoming more supportive and more
Yeah.
backing.
We get a lot of
Because
support where I work, so it's good.
yeah, and I feel myself becoming the same way. Like, growing up I was never anti-police or anything, uh, but I just feel like over the last couple years or whatever, just becoming, trying to do more, trying to show more support, trying to just spread different messages across. Because like I said, I don't think so that many people are actually that anti-police or anti whatever.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I just think they see it, and then they feel like a little pressure to not speak what they actually think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people also just focus on only listening to things on their side of the coin. So that's all they see. Like, I had a young kid, like 17 years old or something, constantly DM me on Instagram after a post. And I was really trying to get him to see, like, the media really does try to shape you into thinking differently in these scenarios. You don't have to be afraid. You can just comply. And I know, but for, all they get fed, because this is all they follow on social media, is all these accounts that are anti-police. So that's all you're going to see until you try and open your eyes to the other side. That's why, like, social media is like a good and a bad thing. If all you're going to do is follow, like, I can't stand Biden, that's no secret, but I follow him on here because I want to see what he has to say. I can't, there's a lot of anti-police accounts that I check once in a while. I may not follow them because I want to see what they have to say, because it might strengthen my argument, or maybe they might have a point sometimes. But I think
Yeah.
a lot of people just tunnel vision their point of view and don't want to see the other side. Like, a lot of people are saying, get off Instagram, go on Telegram and just post there. And to me, it's like, no, because then I'm just speaking to my audience. Like,
Yeah,
I'd
it
rather
doesn't
be
really do any
here where you
good.
can help change people's mind.
Yeah, and it's not a conversation at that point. It's just like a
Yeah.
rally. It
Yeah.
doesn't do anything, and I think that kind of defeats the purpose. And certainly, I think it's become a little bit of a place to like go to, wherever that
Yeah.
outlet is, just to be able to speak your mind. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you find yourself getting censored or whatever sometimes, but I think we still have to try our best to have both sides,
Yeah. Dialogue.
yeah,
Dialogue.
given a little bit, and then seeing what happens. Because yeah,
Yeah.
I I don't think, I don't think it's smart at all for this side to go over here and talk and that side to go over there and talk because like you said, you're just not talking at all.
Yeah.
You're not doing any conversing. What do you think the real motivation behind the media pushing, anti-police is? Do you ever, go down that rabbit hole?
I don't know. I think they just want to create a divide. And I think that maybe people that are more pro police are more on the conservative side, and the people that are more anti police are more on the liberal side. So it's partying those waters a lot more by painting one side to be evil and one side to be good, you know? And all media is based mostly liberal. So that's where you get that constant push. It's hard to find a,
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely tough because, there's such little just, and it's impossible to say non-biased because everything's biased, but
yeah,
just information. I feel like it used to be kind of like, oh, here's some information. And now it's just like, oh, here's,
yeah.
some, here's a clip. Let's yell about it.
I
Let's,
think if more people were to open their minds, like before COVID, before 2020, I don't have TV. I was honestly not conservative at all and not into politics, would never touch it, would never share it. Honestly, hated Trump, couldn't stand the man. But once I started realizing, like, okay, why don't you like this person? Is it just personal? I started really looking at the issues and why aren't you into, I realized like with everything that happened last year, it made it so everybody's got to take a stand. At the same time, I'm not closed minded and I listen to people from the other side because I was on it. So I think if there was more dialogue, more people talking, more people listening to both sides of the coin, not just with law enforcement, with anything. People think they know it all and just don't want to change their mind. I'm a vegan because of this, or I'm a liberal because of this, and I like or I don't like gay people because of this. Like, can you just listen to both sides of the fence?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I think getting to where we can have a conversation is the goal. I don't think the goal is making people like say, oh, I do agree with you, or I don't agree with you, or I'm completely
Yeah,
changing my mind. I think it's just having the capacity to accept that somebody else has this way of thinking
yeah,
and not freaking out or, doing crazy things about it. I think that's
yeah,
where I think that's really kind of the goal should be in a place like America. That's kind of the point.
yeah.
So kind of into the health and stuff. How did that kind of become one of your interests and stuff, some stuff you care about really?
Well, that my whole life, well, not my whole life, but like since college, I kind of dealt with an eating disorder, and I thought I ate right, but I was one of those people that worked out, went to the gym 2 hours a day, but I had a really unhealthy relationship with food where it was like very emotional, stress eating, eating disorder back and forth. And then once I had my daughter, I decided I really wanted to make a change, but I didn't really. I started kind of trying to figure things out. I tried every fad diet out there. And I had a thyroid issue my whole life too, and I was on medication. And then once I had her, I started really looking into like holistic natural options for medication, for food, just trying to really clean up everything. And then once I had my son, I said, I left the sheriff's department full time. I kept it part time, but I thought I really want to like change my eating, change my nutrition, and change my health, not just for myself, but for them too. And that's when I started working with this program that kind of teaches you like portions and macros and all that. And I thought I was eating well this whole time, but I wasn't. I was eating what I thought was clean, but it wasn't. And I thought that you had a diet to get there, but it was just balancing what I'm eating and my portions that were totally off. So once I realized that I don't have to live off tuna, chicken, rice, and salad, and I can still get in shape, I asked a couple of friends of mine to like try to join in on a group with me and say, hey, do you want to try this? Try doing it a different way. Maybe try this, program and see if we can learn more. And so we did it all in a group together, and then it kind of like snowballed from there. And I got off my thyroid. I told myself that I didn't want to be on any prescription medication anymore. So I got off my thyroid medication, and I didn't know how it would work. I didn't know how, but turns out that after like 3 to 6 months, my levels were better. I added like iodine, selenium. Like I looked up natural things that helped your thyroid, and once I did that, my energy, my mood, so since then I kind of like my nutrition coaching kind of just grew, and it turned into a business.
I think a lot of people get stuck in that first part you're in where they think they're doing the right thing, but they never figure out or make that mindset switch of,
Well, I think it's because the quick fixes, there's this diet and there's this pill and there's this challenge. So like you can get a meal plan from anybody. You can take a pill from anybody. And as long as you follow that meal plan, you're going to get results. But once you're off that meal plan and you go back to real life, or you finish that challenge that you do with that coach and you start eating regular food, or you have a drink again, or you go on vacation, and you're right back to where you started. So if you don't learn nutrition and how to balance people think macros is like chemistry. It's really not. It's just like you've got to balance your intake of protein, fat, and carbs. And once you learn what those are and balance them and track it, then you can do that with any food. You don't have to follow a meal plan. So people will ask me all the time, can you give me a meal plan? Yeah, I can, but what's going to happen when you go on vacation, when you go to work and you have a lunch, when you want to have a drink, but you don't want to veer off your plan. So I think that's what it might, finally changed, where I realized I didn't want to give up going out for a drink or being able to eat well on vacation, just learning how to balance it. Like if I want to treat myself at dinner, and I'm just going to watch what I eat earlier during the day. And tracking is the most important.
a lot of people say they don't want to get obsessed with it. And like, it's because to me, like balance and all these things, like that's so important, but you sometimes don't want to become the person that is on, going towards one side too heavily. Obviously you don't want to go 80,
like tracking everything you do.
Exactly. That's kind of the scary part to me, is like you can tell somebody who wants to get, in shape or lose some weight or whatever it is, hey, this is how you do it. But then they might go, too extreme.
Yeah, and I have that in my group right now too. Like I'm teaching them how to track, and you use this app, and but I don't tell you you've got to stick to this calorie count. It's a window. Like for example, for me, it's 1,200 to 500 calories. I mean, so 1,200 to 1,500. Some days I'm going to be 1,200. Some days I'm going to be 15. And heck, maybe I'm going to get to 2,000 tonight because I want to have hot wings. Tomorrow, I'll offset that 500 and eat 250 less. The next day, I'll offset it again and eat a little less, so you don't have to be super rigid. But I have a lot of the people in my group that are like, I'm eating the meal plan, and, and I'm really, my macros are not the way they should be. It's not exactly 45% protein. Well, it's not always going to be,
Right.
You got to give yourself leeway. It's like with weight. I was tied to the scale for the longest time, and people are like, I'm 130, but I want to weigh 127. Well, I can literally go from 130 to 127 in 2 hours or overnight. So you have to give yourself a window of it.
Yeah.
And then people say, well, it's so much work, like tracking is such a pain. Yeah, but everything is going to be work in the beginning. And then once you're used to it, it'll end up helping in the long run. But it's better than having to live on this tight meal plan where you got to eat from your Tupperware container everywhere you go. And when you go to dinner, then what do you do?
Right. And I think part of that, like you said, kind of comes with experience, doing it for a while and understanding, oh, this fits into this meal a little bit better than this other thing, but I'll have it later. So yeah, I think it definitely does come down to just like giving it a shot and understanding that it is going to kind of be work at first. And, everything takes something. If you want to get something out of something, you got to put something into it. I think is really not hard to understand, but kind of hard to like kind of accept in a way,
because people want immediate results.
Yeah.
They want, like, a lot of coaches that coach people will give a meal plan, and people will start seeing results right away because you went from drinking Coke and eating cookies to having chicken for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with like no carbs. So you're going to get those results. But like in my group, this is where I teach you. So they think in the like right away, they're going to understand it all and get it. And I'm like, it's totally normal to be overwhelmed and not get it right now. We're only a week in, it's 6 weeks, like you're going to get it. Just give it time, like,
right.
But people just want to like immediate results, and they want to know it right away, and they want the quick fix. It's like, okay, why did I not lose 5 pounds right away? Well, because you're just going to gain it back. It's like all these myths with nutrition, like you can't eat late. That's not true either. It doesn't matter when you eat. And what works for some is not going to work for everybody either.
Yeah, definitely.
People
You
ask me,
see,
how tall are you and how much do you eat? It's like, just because we're the same height doesn't mean you're going to eat just as much as I do.
but once you started to kind of in your own journey become more consistent and really start doing the right things, like how did you see your life kind of change in a way?
I had no confidence most of my life. Like people think, oh, just because you're average weight, you're so confident. So it gave me a lot. I turned 40 when I had my son when I was 40. So it was nice to like finally be comfortable in your own skin and like not be always concerned about what people think. And like I mean, I think just getting off the thyroid medication made a big deal too. It really affected me more than I realized. Like it affected my mood, it affected everything. And I didn't realize until I got off of it. So I think just finally being able to be free and not think like, oh my gosh, I had too many carbs today, or I didn't have a salad for lunch. It changed everything, and it made me a lot more confident in general, and then helped my kids too.
Yeah, I think confidence is definitely one of those things that just skyrockets when you start to properly take care of yourself.
Yeah,
Eating right, becoming more active, whether that's
yeah,
lifting weights or whatever it is you like to do, it doesn't really matter. It's just becoming um good at that's just like I think becoming good at something too. It just feels good to become good at taking care of yourself.
okay. People don't realize the benefit of it. Like just getting outside. Like I'll be having the worst day ever, and I know if I don't get outside, the minute I get outside, it changes. As much as I hate, like today, I did not want to work out. It's hotter than hell, but I was like, I've got to get this run done because I got to get back in shower by 2:45, so I'm ready by. And I could have just kept working on my stuff, but it makes you feel so much better. Yet in this country, they just push like the quick fix. Oh, you don't feel good? Here's this pill. You're too tired? Here's this pill. You are depressed? Here's this pill. So I hate that pill push.
Yeah.
If doctors just focus more on healthy eating and better eating and not like constant like pill pushing would be in a better position.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's funny. You brought up holistic and I think that's such a
Oh yeah, I'm like a super hippie with that. That's my, maybe they'll call it the liberal side, but like the anti-vaxxer thing, people can call it all that. That's me. Like people are not. It's becoming more common now with the whole vaccine issue. But I had my daughter have a really bad reaction at 18 months from her routine vaccines, and from that point on, I stopped them altogether. And then I never gave it to my son. So my son is 7 and has zero, not one single one, and he's like never even had a cold. So when they're sick, I avoid medication. I just
yeah,
apple cider vinegar, olive oil, echinacea, like elderberry syrup,
it's crazy
anything I
the
can.
the stigma behind it really. And I don't think like it's even it was even that big of a deal before this whole like vaccination thing became
Yeah,
bigger. Um,
I
but
think that's the good coming out of this vaccination thing. People are questioning the medical profession more because of this, which is good. And there's a lot more people that are like, well, I'm not anti-vaccine, but now I'm questioning them a little more than I did before. Because this one is no different than the ones in the past. You just didn't question them because people put 100% faith in their doctors who are fully trained by pharmaceutical companies to push what they're giving. So that's all they know. You can't really blame some of them. Some of them finally wake up and realize, hey, I'm giving you this, but now I have to give you 5 other things to fix what that's causing. Like
yeah,
the only country in the world that has so much pharmaceutical advertisements.
yeah, I think it was
They just listen to their doctor blindly.
yeah, and I think it's so, so much good information that could be passed throughout, just a doctor's visit. But it seems like, you see your doctor for a few minutes and they're, how are your numbers? And that's something else I
Yeah,
think I talked about on a previous podcast very, very recently. And it was just like the low standards we have. Cause like you see, maybe somebody in your family who just is not active at all. They're super sedentary. They
yeah,
don't eat well. They might smoke maybe even, or like something, just not living a
Yeah.
healthy life. And then they go to the doctor and it's like, oh, your numbers look good. There, maybe this is a little bit high, but
Yeah.
just do this.
Yeah. These
Like,
numbers are not a good representation.
right. And why are we having such low standards for health? If somebody is, you know, not not physically active, not eating well, and all this other stuff, like why do they leave the doctor's office thinking, oh, I'm in good shape? That's just, to me, is just so
Yeah.
messed up.
It's also on the other end of the spectrum. They also run like the BMI numbers. Like I went with my daughter to the doctor for her like annual checkup, and she's 12, but she's a big 12. Like she's my height, weighs as much as I do, and he's like, oh, but she's at 5'2", 5'3". Actually, she's 5'4", 127 pounds, and that's completely normal. But the doctor looks at the BMI chart. He's like, "Oh, your BMI, it's a little high. You're really going to have to watch what you're eating." And I'm like, "You're nuts. Don't give her a complex.
Yeah.
Her BMI might be a little high, but those are skewed numbers anyway. Like she eats well, she's athletic, she's not overweight, but they base everything off these like statistics and numbers. That, like in any field, there's different kinds of doctors. So you just have to find, I think, one that aligns more with what you believe.
I had a great episode on here with, I guess, what you would call a holistic doctor. I can't remember the exact episode number now, but it was probably in the near 50 or something. But that if you want to go back and hear some great holistic advice and information,
Totally, yeah.
it was a really, really good episode. And I learned a lot. And actually it's funny because I got some messages and some stuff, comments and stuff about how, why are you telling people not to, go to the doctor? Why are you telling people not to take medication? Like blah, 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 all this stuff. Like this person, we go to medical school, that they shouldn't be saying this. Like it's just the backlash you get
Because they're
from.
standing, oh yeah, I get it all day long. You're a cop, why are you telling people not to wear masks? Well, because it's not a law,
Yeah.
and that's my opinion. And I don't care what my title is. Like that doctor might be a doctor, but he doesn't have to agree with everything.
Yeah, it's
People are
crazy.
just so aligned to go with.
Just the flow.
That's where the term sheep comes from. And it's not negative. It's just that sheep tend to kind of go with the crowd.
Yeah.
People take that as such an insult. Sorry, but that's what you're doing if you're not going to question anything. Sheep don't question anything. They just go with a sheep herder. So if you're going to do that, sorry, but you're kind of like the sheep, you know?
Like I said, it's just become so much more of a conversation now with the new vaccine out, and so many different people
Yeah.
who would never question these things. I never thought, oh, when I have kids, will I give them the vaccines? Like before this is like, of course, like I had them,
You would
you know,
never question it. Yeah.
and you just hear different things, and that's where it becomes so challenging too, to like, and somebody in my position maybe who is kind of younger and doesn't know what they're going to do with their own family. Like, who do
Yeah.
you listen to? Do you listen to your own experience telling you
You do your
this?
own research, and you base it off what you feel. Like what people, on really quickly on that issue, because that could be like a whole 5 hours. But people are like, well, what, you got yours when you were little. What's the difference? When I was little, there was maybe 9, 20 at the most between 0 and 5 years old. Now you have 60 plus, you know, you have to, and no doctor can ever tell you what's in them. You go there and you ask them, oh, they can't tell you what's in them. If you're going to jab my kid with 5 different things at once, all in the same little tube, tell me what's in it. But they don't. So that's what finally got me to like, I'm not going to give my daughter the hepatitis B vaccine at birth. I got it when I started working in a jail at 32 years old. Why does my newborn need it? So then you question one, and then that's why they say you go down the rabbit hole and really,
Yeah.
And then I have like my son who's 7, has never taken medication and has never had a vaccine in his life, none whatsoever. None, like not even a tetanus shot when he got hurt and went to the hospital. And I'm going to hatch a ton of heat for this one, but he's never even had a common cold. No earache, no stomach ache, no flu, nothing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's something that people have to question. I don't care what they do, and they shouldn't care what I like. If more people just minded their own business and said, get it or don't get it, not you need to get it to protect me. No, I don't.
Us even talking about this, like you said, you're going to get backlash. You're going to get people
Oh,
talking,
100%.
and it's crazy. Like I I don't know. It's crazy that it's kind of like that. You're seen as like a conspiracy theorist, or you're seen as whatever.
Yeah. And
It's
some people are comfortable dealing with that. And some people are insulted and will just be like, all right, I'm just going to shut up now.
nowadays, like that specific topic just gets brought up. Like you see somebody for the first time, and it's like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
did you get the vaccine? It's
Yeah.
like,
That's the
haven't
first
seen them
question
in a
I think
year.
of. Yeah.
It's
I don't
crazy.
get, yeah, I'll never that's when people should be questioning it. Like, why is it so important? We all survived. We're still here.
Right.
Why do you need it? Get it if you want to, but question why they're paying you, giving you drugs, donuts, lap dances,
It's a
burgers,
million
like
dollars here in Kentucky.
1.5 million here in California. And
Yeah.
now you get destination, like vacations. They're giving you vacations. Like it never, like, why are they pushing it so much? People need to question it. And if you don't, I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
you're just going along with the herd and you know what you are.
Yeah, that's my thing. That's my biggest thing. Like if you didn't get it because you truly wanted it or thought it was going to be good for you, why are you now getting it just for a reward or an award? Like, why are you doing it? Like, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
That
they can get a lot of people with those rewards. But I get
absolutely.
so many people telling me to get it because they say they're afraid, like, of the backlash. And I'm like, you need to make the best decision for you and not be afraid of the backlash, or they get threats from their jobs, or they just want to be able to go more places. Well, that's on you, but do your research.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely that's a big thing too, is just figuring out the future of this whole thing, and are we going to be able to, put the right people in charge to not dictate what we do with our own body. It's like the biggest
Yeah,
thing for years was your body, your choice. And now all of a sudden
only
it's
when it
like,
applies to their agenda.
yeah, it's crazy. Now that the tables have turned, it's
It's not
completely
your choice
different.
anymore.
There's so many levels to it, business. And
We're in the twilight zone.
yeah, so many things going
That's
on.
what it
It's,
feels like.
you open your eyes the next day and it's like, what else is going to happen in the news, and what else
Oh,
is,
yeah.
and it's
I'm
so
waiting for
much.
that next bomb to drop. It's been kind of quiet for a little bit.
Yeah. And it's so weird. Like we see these fluctuations and like what's important and who. To me, it became really interesting whenever like kind of the Black Lives Matter movement like had its maybe year. And if you like look back before that, it was like kind of this like a, turn towards like supporting, Mexicans. It was like the anti-Mexican versus Mexican
Yeah.
movement, and then it went to the BLM movement, and now it's kind of going towards, once again, back to like the immigration and the
They had the
Mexican
Asian one for a little bit,
the
Asian
Asian
pride,
one. Yeah.
remember?
Yeah.
And I just
It's
think, like, coming from somebody that is an immigrant and wasn't born here and I'm not white, like yesterday, for example, I was running and my Pandora just automatically switched to black only music station. And I'm like, what? No, go back to my station. Like, and I have black friends, I support every race, but how would that be perceived or how would that be seen if there was a white only music station,
oh yeah,
Like when I was in college, I was asked to join Chicano studies and I said, no, I don't believe in segregating any group for any purpose. Like there shouldn't be uh, Black Choice Awards, there shouldn't be Latin American award. There should just be they're causing this divide on purpose, and more people are falling for it.
it's like you're pushing, oh, we all should become, happy with each other and like, support each
Yeah,
other and do all this stuff. But then, like you said, you're just creating more divide. All the,
yeah,
support black owned business, support, you
yeah.
know,
Support every business took a hit last year. Why are we only supporting Black-owned business?
right. Yeah. To
And
me,
I think
it's,
more African American people, more Black people need to stand up for that and say, you know. But honestly, it's not even them pushing it so much. It's white people
yeah,
feeling.
definitely.
I don't know what they're doing. Stop creating the divide.
Yeah.
But I
It
know that.
all, it's all becoming just, it's a divide. How can we
Yeah.
push these people further apart, and how can we,
Oh,
create
they've
different
caused a huge
divisions?
divide because now it's like even if you date, like I don't know if you're single or married or whatever, but I have a lot of friends that are like single and dating, and before you meet somebody or when you meet somebody, it's like, oh, did you vote for Trump? Because if you did, I can't go out with you. It's like
Right.
there's a lot of people that will say that, and I'll be first. I voted for him, yes, and if you didn't, I don't, it definitely. you think about it, like, would you get along with somebody that voted for Biden if you voted for Trump? Probably not. You're probably on two opposite sides of the fence. So where in the past that probably didn't matter, I don't think anybody dating asked who you voted for in the last election.
Right.
It's a huge difference now, you know? And where do you stand on the BLM issue? And where do you stand on police?
Yeah.
Now it's you're here or there.
Kind of getting back to the health and fitness side of it, you said you started kind of helping people out, and where do you see that leading to? Do you have any specific goals, or is it just kind of, helping people out and see where it goes?
I do like coaching. Like I'll probably just keep doing it the way I've been doing it. Just I don't really like reach out or like advertise. I just share what I'm doing on Instagram, mostly Instagram, sometimes Facebook, and I invite people to join my group if they want to. And I could probably like turn it into more of a business if I really did push it more and really became aggressive. But at this point, I just, because I'm got the sheriff's department and because I'm with my kids and because I have my other job in marketing, I do it mostly like obviously because it's my business and it does make income for me, but I don't like to be like pushy. Like it always that turned me off when it came to like especially online coaches. And I do somewhat coach with Beachbody, which tends to be like sometimes coaches that coach with Beachbody programs are super pushy. Like you've got to get my shake and you've got to get this workout and you've got to get this. And it's not the same, you know, not everybody's going to want your shake and not everybody's going to want that workout. Not everybody's going to want to take your supplements. So I pretty much offer like this is what I do. This is what I share. This is how I help people. And if you want the help, then reach out and I'll help you. So I'm hoping to just keep going that way. And maybe eventually, like, I want to write more books, like my macros book. I just wrote that because people thought it was such rocket science. And I'm like, I'm so sick of explaining it. I'm going to put it in a book and whatever happens, happens. Like, people can read it, not read it. But when they ask me, I'm going to say, here, you use this. And it's honestly been super helpful because I literally just wrote it on my phone one day and put it together, and it helped people really understand how easy it can be to like just figure out how many calories you need per day, figure out your macro percentages approximately, and track it to kind of stay in that window. And if you do that, you're going to get results. I did another one on fasting too. Like you get a lot of questions on fasting, and that's been something that I incorporated too, that like people think, oh, you can't go without eating, it's bad for you. Not at all. Fasting is actually really good for you, has a lot of benefits, but we're raised to eat breakfast. You know, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. So
Yeah, I think it's important to put that out there, in simplified
yeah.
terms too. I think that's another really good thing to do, is just make it understandable. But I really appreciate you coming on here and sharing some time with me today here on the weight room. And it was great to get to talk to you and
Yeah,
kinda,
you too. Thanks for the invite.
absolutely. And if you just want to let people know where they can find you, where they can find your books, that'd be great.
My books are on Amazon. It's called Macros 101 and then Fasting 101. And I'm on Instagram under Fit Cop Mom.